video games are for nerds. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about them. That's why you're listening to The Week in Gaming, the only gaming podcast that breaks down the last 7 days and tears games apart from the inside. Ugh. So forget your worries, open your ears, and join Simon Miller and a co-host for the entertainment chatter you need. Also, screw Dark Souls.
Hello and welcome to The Week in Gaming. My name is Simon Miller, and if you are brand new to the podcast, it is about video games. Hopefully the clue is in the title, and I would guess, I haven't actually sat back and thought about this, but I guess this may be the last one of 2018 as we all relax and have a lovely Christmas break. As always, I am joined by my co-host Sam Bishop. Sam, how are we right now, in this second, in this moment?
Yeah, doing good, maxing, relaxing, ain't too taxing.
Good. Excellent. Are you ready for the Christmas period? You ready to take some time off, relax?
Oh, hell yes.
What are your Christmas games? Do you have any? Sometimes people literally wait till Christmas before they play a video game.
No, I've got a game that I'm playing now that we'll get onto later that I'll definitely be smashing out over the Christmas.
Oh, yeah. I know what that is.
Yeah.
I know what that is. Yeah, so as it is the end of the year, I'm sure if anyone that's into video games knows, and it's fair enough, the industry goes quiet. You get a couple of games that come out in December. This year it was Just Cause 4 and Smash Brothers. And that's it. Everyone just lays backwards. I mean, the only other news that's really come out is that Epic continues to get sued by prominent celebrities for their dances being stolen. The latest one was the funniest because it was Alfonso Ribeiro who was culted on The Fresh Prince. I mean, it does bring up an interesting question. Can you copyright a dance move? I mean, I'm not sure you can, but we're going to find out one way or the other because that's 2 lawsuits. And obviously, if even one wins, Epic's going to go and have to compensate everybody's dances they quote-unquote stole, allegedly, maybe. Who knows? Don't want to talk about it because I don't want to say the wrong thing. And yeah, because of that, we're literally going to run down our top 10 games of the year. Sam's got 10, I've got 10. I don't know his, I know one of his. Sam doesn't know mine. And if we just happen to clash on one, that's great. We can just talk about it for a little bit longer. I will implore everyone to get in touch on Twitter at SimonMiller316 or Sam Bishop 3Ps and a 1 on social media. Let us know what your top 10 games are. This will be going up on YouTube as well, so you can leave it in the comments. There'll also be a separate video about other games this year, so lots of places to come and have your discussion. And as always, all of these podcasts, including The Week in Gaming, are supported by patreon.com/SimonMiller316. Even if you give $1, it just helps so much. It really, really does. Right, let's do it, Sam. You want to go first or you want me to go first? It's your choice.
You go first, your podcast.
Well, mine is hilarious. Our podcast, Sam. Our podcast. My first one is hilarious, right? Because I sat down and I was making my list. And there were some games that I enjoyed, but I was like, no. Because my gaming habits have changed so significantly in 2018, I wanted to give a shout out to something, and it kind of resembles that as opposed to the specific game. And it is something we've talked about here on The Week in Gaming before, and we both laughed at how ridiculous it was. But I'm not kidding you. Number 10 in my top 10 games of the year is the shitty mobile game known as Flip Trickster. now, the reason it gets in is literally that. Like, there was a time when I thought mobile games, I was fine with them, but they felt a bit like a cash grab. I don't really feel like the market, I sound a bit like an asshole, but this is what I felt. I didn't really feel like the market had adapted to what it needed to do, and that's absolutely not the case anymore. There are some really, really good games out there that take advantage of free-to-play wonderfully, never feel like they're overbearing or aggressive. You can enjoy yourself for 10 minutes or, half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on what a commute is. And while they never give you the same depth as something you can play on your PS or Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, they have a purpose, and to me, they have as much worth as any video game does over the last 12 months. And one that just happened to get me, it was only around about, August, sort of late summer, that got me was Flip Trickster, which, if you don't know, is just where you control an Olympian or a gymnast, and you literally do flips within a gym or in a wood or different environments, and you just have to try and land them as much as you can. It ain't great. I've finished it now. I'm probably never, ever going to play it again. But this was more a reflection, more a magnifying glass on... yeah, just a format or a way of making games, developing games that before I got it to a certain point. Like there were obviously games that had come along that I liked. Like I enjoyed Mario iPhone, whatever the hell that game was called, and there's a game called Super Stick Golf, which I've always enjoyed. But this was different. This got me through bus drives, train drives. When I was waiting for videos to export, for example, or people that I was going to do a podcast with. Just 5 minutes to chill out, relax. There's no. There's no real effort on your part. It doesn't load. It's just easy and it's just accessible and it's just there. So that kind of Flip Trickster to me kind of sums up where video games are going and how well I feel the industry as a whole has adjusted over the last year, as ridiculous as it is, because it is just a shitty free game on the iPhone. But again, that's why it's cool. I spent zero.
If you put this on your phone, you get the most time out of it because you're always there with your phone, able to boot it up whenever you want.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what it is. I think time and accessibility have become so important to me in 2018, for better or for worse. And I'm completely cool with some people saying, oh, no, I don't like it. It's not for me. That's great. Like, it really, really is. And if you still want to sit down and smash out, Ni no Kuni 2 or Final Fantasy 15 or whatever, these long sort of 50-hour plus games, you absolutely should. And I don't want them to go away anytime soon. But I wanted to find a way to slip a game in there. And that's the one that I realized I played the most. So that's the one that got the shout. The most ridiculous game you'll find in anybody's top 10 list this year. But man, I'm damn proud of it. So there you go. That's my number 10.
Did you? Did it come out this year?
It did, yeah. It did. It came out in July, yeah. I deliberately checked that because I was like, wait, it's so hard to try and figure out when apps come out because they're basically timeless. Like the way it looks and the way it plays really could have come out in 2012 and nobody would have known any difference. But it came out in the summer. Again, it's not even something that I would suggest people go and play, as nuts as it sounds. It's more of a reflection, as I keep saying. But I do. For me, it changed. It was this year, given my time commitments, where I am in my life, just normal adult crap that gets in the way. And this allowed me to sort of get around a lot of that and just enjoy a video game. That's why it gets 2 thumbs up from me. Or 10 thumbs up, I should say, because it's number 10.
So the better games get less thumbs up?
Yeah, the game 1 gets 1 thumb up. My system is broken. My system is absolutely broken.
It's like golf.
Yeah, exactly. Makes no sense. Oh, dear. Right, Sam, over to you, number 10.
Yeah, my number 10 is not this year because we talked about this a bit off the mic, off camera. And yeah, because I didn't want to just I didn't want to just shoehorn 2 games in. I just need to fill up the list. These are 2 games I played this year. They're not old, but they didn't come out this year. Doki Doki Literature Club is my number 10.
What on earth is that? Have we talked about that before?
We have talked about this ages ago.
Oh, remind me.
I can't talk much about it without spoiling it. Because essentially what it is it's a classic Japanese dating sim where you are a guy and you go to a literature club, our school literature club, and there's 4 girls there. And you romance some of them and stuff like that. But the halfway through, it changes into something else. And I assume you're not going to play this Doki Doki Literature Club.
You'd be surprised to hear that I won't probably play Doki Doki Literature Club.
So what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit about it. Spoiler alert, clear warning. It turns into a horror game halfway through.
I do remember this now. Yes, no, I do remember we talked about this.
Yeah. And really pretty intense and disturbing stuff. But it's just like... It's not totally out of the blue because you can't just disguise a game as a dating sim and then everyone's okay, cool, it's rated U, and then like murder and suicide and all that stuff like that. So it does sort of show its hand and be like, listen, this isn't that, just there will be disturbing stuff. But the way it just goes from like la 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 to like brutal instantly, it's just really good at subverting all those genres. And it's just, really amazing. One of the most interesting. Those games that like, you might not be like, I wouldn't put this in my top games of all time ever.
Yeah.
But the ones that are just interesting, just like, that was really cool to just experience. I think that's why I threw it in there.
I think it's fair enough, man. Also, I like games that do that. I remember why we talked about this. I think I mentioned this at the time too. My weird dream is to somehow become like a successful filmmaker and then make a really serious movie for like an hour and a half. And the last half an hour is just like comedy. And everyone will be like, what the flip is this? Because I just think it would be fun. I just think it'd be hilarious to sort of gauge people's, just what's this guy done? But I had a quick look. I do remember it. Yeah, I do. I like the idea of, because it's a daring thing to do too. Like, it's a really daring thing to say, because imagine you really liked sort of, 70% of the game and then 30% of it is horror. That may turn people off. I respect it. My number 9 is ridiculous too, because it did come out this year, but technically it came out about 4 years ago, because my number 9 was Captain Toad Treasure Tracker for the Switch.
I've heard that's a really good game.
It's brilliant. Like, considering it was all based off a concept on, what the hell was the Mario? Not Galaxy, or whatever it was. The Mario game that came out on the Wii U, which was, what the hell was it? Well, now I need to know, because my brain is...
3D World?
It was 3D World, wasn't it? It had that stupid name like Super Mario 3D, and it was Super Mario 3D World. And honestly, aside from the sort of latter stages of that game where Mario, some of the platforming was excellent. It reminded me of Mario 64 almost, that no one talks about now. You had these mini games with Captain Toad, and they were just like odd, I wouldn't even call them platformers, environmental puzzles, where you just had to get to point A to point B. But because it's Nintendo, and because they have a certain way of developing and a certain way of putting everything together, it just became so oddly addictive. And again, when they released it this year for Switch as a standalone game, I'm sure, look, I played them all, but I'm sure it probably even took elements from the past. It's just you wouldn't know, because it's so similar. I wouldn't have picked up on it, but it's just great. Like, it really is. It's pleasant to play. It tests your mind in a way where you could actually play it with a family, or if you had kids, play it with your kids, or you wanted to introduce someone to video games, but you don't feel like you're being patronized against either, because the challenge is enough. I mean, Toad by himself is a lovable enough character to see it through. It's just great. It's like I say, it's an environmental puzzler is what I would call it. And some of the puzzles, again, when you get towards the latter stages, are really, I wouldn't call them difficult, but they push you enough that you don't feel that you don't real flipped off. And it's the experience that I enjoy. It reminds you that throughout all this nonsense of people screaming and shouting, oh, games are too violent, or games are all about this. Yeah, I'm sure some are. I don't necessarily think that's a problem within the context of what we have. But when you also get things like this and it doesn't get much love, then I do get a little bit, I'm not upset about it, but I would like it to, I know people within the industry do, but it's just great. It's just really fun. You can play it over and over again. It's never too taxing. It's just great. That's all I'm going to say. It's great. It's one of my favourite games on the Switch, which makes me sound like an idiot, but I don't care. I love it. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. If you have a Switch and you're looking for something to steal away, again, 20, 30 minutes here and there, it's probably dirt cheap now. Well, Nintendo don't really drop in price. But check it out now. Keep an eye on it. I think a lot of people will enjoy it if you haven't tried it before.
Does it add any extra content from the old one?
It does, yeah. It has new stuff in it. Oh, look, but like this, I think it does. But the fact that I'd played all the old stuff and I'm still not sure means it's irrelevant anyway. I didn't feel like I'd wasted my money. I didn't feel like it, was a lesser experience. But no, I'm 99% sure it does have new stuff in it. It just feels like a more put together sort of full experience as opposed to random levels you found as a mini game on a Mario title. But yeah, really good. And while Flip Trickster is kind of, I say it with a wry smile, I say Captain Toad Treasure Tracker with the confidence of a bear. Like, it's a good video game, and if people don't like it, that's cool. But yeah, I definitely put my seal of approval behind it.
Sweet. And so my number 9 is the game that I'm going to be playing over Christmas, which is another game that's not released this year, but it's Dragon Age Inquisition.
Now, I want to talk to you about this. Because we did have a brief chat recently. I knew you were playing it because I don't really get that game, and I love the first one. So just walk me through it. Why has it sunk its teeth in so much?
I don't know. The world, I think, is probably the main part because it's huge. Like, it's not like I've played BioWare games before. I wasn't surprised, but it's just massive. And there's something about the world that's so like immersive and enticing, and it's a difficult game, and there's a lot to it. Like, when you get in, you're like, oh my god, I have so much to do and remember, and I've got 3 other party members to take care of, and where do I go, and why am I in the hinterlands, and should I leave the hinterlands now because everything's higher level than me? But it's just that depth is also the part of the charm as well, because once you figure out all these systems and you know what you're doing and learning all these stuff, it's just fantastic. It's a really great RPG, and I think I love the BioWare dialogue options as well. And I think it seems to be one of those things, like, not that you hate one or the other, but like, you're either Mass Effect if you like sci-fi or fantasy with Dragon Age. And to be honest, I'm more of a sci-fi guy, but I'm clicking much more with this because I liked Mass Effect, but I love this game. And I haven't played any of the others, so I can't say how it compares to the other Dragon Age games. But yeah, just really great. Love the world to explore. There's just so much to do and see. And it's all just really engaging. It's one of those things like, if you don't like the story, I guess that's obviously not, that's going to be half of the appeal gone. So I think just the fact that the story engages with me in some personal way and that there's so much to it. Yeah, just really great. And yeah, I'm looking forward to playing that a lot over Christmas.
Well, the best thing about it is you actually can start afresh from there. You don't need. It doesn't really. It does. There are sort of storyline elements that turn in, but in terms of sort of starting afresh, I think you actually could start with Inquisition. I think that's why they didn't call it Dragon Age 3. I think that's the whole reason they did it, because they kind of wanted to start afresh, which means when Wrath of the whatever the Devil's Tooth, whatever the Wolf Tooth comes out, you'll probably just be able to segue across, probably take your character and your mission, and yeah, you won't feel like you've missed anything. It's funny as well. I love that kind of stuff too, because the reason I struggled with it is because I didn't like wandering to areas I wasn't meant to go. It kind of annoyed me a little bit, but that sounds like something you actually quite appreciate.
Yeah, it's just everything about it is just great. It is hard though; it's very hard. I'm often wandering into areas where I'm just totally underleveled. But yeah, it's great to muddle through.
Oh, dude, that's all that matters, man. If you're enjoying, and it's your Christmas game too. Everyone has a Christmas game.
Yeah.
And one of mine may actually be my number 8, which honestly, late arrival here, because it's only been the last 2-3 weeks. I haven't really chatted about it here much on the podcast. It's going to be Hitman 2. Which I managed to get my hands on. Well, it's kind of one of those things where I thought I like the original Hitman, so I thought I'm just going to pick it up. And I did. And I tell you, man, it is such... I shouldn't say it like this, because I'm sure if anyone from IO listens, I don't think they do, but I don't want to sound like I'm crapping over their parade. But it is such a shame that didn't sell more than it did. And I don't know the figures, but I know there's rumours out there that it didn't do what they wanted to do, and it may affect the franchise going forward. But my thing with it is this. In a world where open environments are... there's just too many of them, and some feel very similar, and a lot of games kind of just go that route because everybody else is. IO went the opposite way. They said, okay, if everybody likes open worlds, and it's something that we're familiar with and been doing for 20 years or however long Hitman's been around, what can we do to give people the ultimate sandbox that they'll actually enjoy being in and won't feel like they're ever held back? And that's what Hitman 2 is. It takes everything that Hitman did, as in the revamped Hitman from 2016, gets rid of all the issues such as the episodic nature of it, or any kind of bugs or little things that people didn't want. And it just opens everything up without it being overly expansive or overly complicated. And it doesn't hold you back. All it says is, that guy in the blue shirt, go kill him. We're going to give you a bunch of tools that we'd also like you to find upon the way. Use your imagination, use your ingenuity. What can you come up with? And then we'll make sure that, or we'll do our best to make sure that you can do it. And aside that, because of the world they've created is so persistent and it shifts all the time, you get hilarious accidents as well that are genuinely entertaining and don't piss you off because they make you laugh. It's weird. It's another game where I'm not really putting it in my top 10 because I've enjoyed it more than other games, but I've enjoyed it enough and think it's such an achievement, coupled with the fact that I don't think it got the reception that it deserved. It kind of all comes together to create this atmosphere. I'm like, man, more people need to play Hitman 2. Because I think if more people did play Hitman 2, I can't imagine anyone, unless you hate shooting in video games, wanting to play it and not getting something from it. It's so good. It's so well made. It's probably the best Hitman game they'll ever do. Not only because it's the best one anyway, but because I don't think we're going to see another one now. And I think it sucks.
Yeah, I'm way too impatient to play those games, but I just love that it exists because, just hearing the amount of unique animations and all these NPCs in the level and how much, because Dishonored levels, they're so interconnected levels and meticulously crafted. It is just the ultimate assassination sandbox without sounding like a press release. It's so good at what it does. And it's a real shame, like you say, that it's not been picked up by more, because I can imagine for Hitman fans, this is the best Hitman. But maybe there just aren't enough Hitman fans.
There's not. I think it's a fair point. You do have to be patient. That's fair. And you can run around like a moron too, which is very funny, but obviously you get diminishing returns that way. But I think the patience thing is fair. And it's funny as well because I don't like stealth. And I don't like being patient in games, but I appreciate the world created so much that it kind of wins me over. Hitman's my number 8, and it may be the last time Hitman ever gets in somebody's top 10, which sucks.
Yeah, and that was number 8, right?
That was number 8. So you're number 8.
Cool. So mine's, I think it might be on your list, Black Ops 4.
It's not on my list,
Well, cool. There we go. That's good.
I just said that. Let me check. No, it's not. I know why. Yep, I know why. A good dude. Well, I like Black Ops 4, but yeah, I mean, you go. I don't.
Yeah. So I think Blackout was a great addition to the franchise. I don't particularly enjoy it that much. I don't particularly, for a number of reasons. But it is very good at what it does. Like we talked about before with the Battle Royale genre, to have that meticulously crafted handmade first person perspective, as opposed to sort of PUBG's, which was a little bit sort of tacked onto the third person that was there originally. To have the Call of Duty pedigree on the Battle Royale genre, that was a great idea. And you could tell by the popularity of the game that it just worked with everyone. It was super popular, but I enjoy the multiplayer most in terms of the classic multiplayer, because I like the addition of the classes, the specialist classes.
Yeah.
That's all really good. It's sort of like a hero shooter, but not as intense. Like, you don't get locked out of everything if you pick one hero or whatever. And then zombies is obviously great. It's a little bit like, it's gone of the days when you just picked a map and you just found the Pack-a-Punch machine, because they're so complex, the zombies maps. And but yeah, for that reason they offer so much more depth. So yeah, it's got 3 hugely strong multiplayer modes, and quite frankly, I couldn't care less about the campaign not being there. I never played it, so I know a lot of people didn't like that when it was announced, but I think in practice it actually made for a better game.
I think
there wasn't wasted effort on a campaign that not many people played.
I also think as well that going on literally what you've just said, when you play Team Deathmatch in COD, you realise that it's still a formula that works.
Yeah.
And the fact now that you do have Battle Royale as well, which, as we've talked about verbatim on here, that, that's not the right word, you know what I mean? We've talked about a lot on here that did bring something new to that genre and got in there at the right time. And that really, apart from a few people that, didn't keep up with the franchise too well, no one cared about single player going away. I absolutely do think it's the best Call of Duty in a while. I think kind of World War II reset everything last year, and Treyarch just picked it up and ran with it. Although I haven't played much Zombies, but you say that's quite good too.
Yeah, it's good. It's you had to sink loads of time into it because it's got like a lot of depth to it, and it's got its own storylines and stuff. But yeah, it's still good for just going around and killing zombies. It's still the usual zombies thing.
Yeah, I never really got into zombies on any game. I think Left 4 Dead 2 was so good that was it for me. But that's a really good shout. I would agree with that. It's certainly not something that makes me go, what? Which you may actually say to my number 7. But it should become that surprising if you do listen to the Week in Gaming a lot, because my number 7 is Overcooked 2. And the reason Overcooked 2 goes in at number 7, again, it's all the games I've picked this year are mostly because I enjoy what they brought to video games in 2018. Because I feel like if they weren't released, we may have lost a little something. And same seat multiplayer, Team 17, I know they published it, they didn't develop it. I can't remember the developer's name. You'll have to forgive me. But, that game, it just completely underlines this whole thing. Oh, well, multiplayer now is confined to online co-op or online multiplayer. No, it isn't. The fact that all you're ever doing is cooking. That's it. All you got to do is a time management game, really. And but you can play it by yourself and it's okay. But you get somebody else in your house, you sit them down on your couch, and you have to then try and time management together. Every time I talked about Overcooked 2, the response I always get is, oh, I love that game. Me and my partner play it, and we end up yelling at each other. And you're like, yeah, that's the point. That's what you're meant to do. And there's nothing more fun than looking over to, again, whoever you're playing it's with side of the kitchen, and it's all on fire. You're like, what the flip did you do? It's just so much fun. It never gets old. It's genuinely a wonderful video game, and it's so innocent too. And you just don't get a lot of it anymore. And it took up way too much of my time. I still haven't finished it. I will play it once relevant people around my house. I really, really like it. It puts a smile on my face.
It says a lot that it sort of commandeered a whole genre. If you say, oh, can you name me some couch co-op games? Everyone will go Overcooked now. Yeah. And a few years ago, before Overcooked came out, you'd be like, oh, there's probably your Lego games or something. But everyone is like, this is it. This is the ultimate one. Because it's just like, if you're a kid, it's fun. If you're an adult, it's fun. Like you say, it's just pure quintessential amazingness. Like, I'm not surprised with that. I approve of that pick.
Yeah. No, I mean, it surprised me. Because I only played it after I wanted to get people into video games. Yeah. So I did, and that was that. I love it. I love it far more. If you'd asked me at the beginning of the year, Millie, you're going to be like, no, I don't want to play Overcooked. Not in a bad way. I appreciate that it exists. But yeah, definitely my surprise of the year as well. So yeah, my number 7, Overcooked 2.
Cool. And my number 7 is a game we talked about on here before called The Spectrum Retreat.
Yes, I remember that. I remember The Spectrum Retreat. I'm not surprised it's in there. I remember you liked it a lot.
Yes, it's a very good game. It's one of those games where half of it is just impressed by who made it. So it's BAFTA Young Game Designer winner Dan Smith made it with the help, like it's his game, but he made it with the help of another studio. So some people helped him make this game, but like all the puzzles, all the stuff there is his. And so you're trying to escape a hotel when you're there for a random reason, you'll find out. And then you have to solve light block puzzles. So you switch red coloured lights from one block to another in order to solve puzzles. And then within the hotel are clues to your past and things like that. And obviously you can't get too deep into this either without sort of saying, because part of the reason why it's so good is because of what unfolds later on. But just an amazing achievement for someone who's only just starting uni or just in at uni right now. Just incredible. It's one of those things like, when you hear footballers are like playing for a top level Premier League team and they're like 18 and you're like, oh, what am I doing? And then that's sort of what I'm like, oh man, this guy's so talented. So yeah, it's sort of like the game. It's sort of like that. This number 7 also goes to him as well as this game.
But I think that ties in though as well, right? If you can have appreciation for a developer, you are going to like the video game more. Like I do that now with football players all the time because I'm now at an age where if I was a football player, I'd probably be looking into retirement. It's like, you know, I'm in my early 30s and you start thinking, oh shit, that guy's just a year younger than me. And it gives me more respect for them. So it definitely happens with video games too. And I think that's one as well that people out there listening, I think if they went out of their way to play it, they'd be really impressed by it as well. That's why I like that it gets onto lists like this. I mean, you know, I'm not saying millions of people listen to this, but I know we have a good listenership. And I think it's good to flag those things up because, again, there's so many video games that can get released in 2018. A lot of stuff does go under the radar.
Yeah, and I definitely recommend people check this out. If they're fans of puzzle games or just good stories, because I'm a fan of both, and I got satisfaction with both elements.
There we go. Number 7. So my number 6, there's not even much I can say about it. The only problem I had with it is not my problem. My issue was that it didn't really get much love when it came out, unlike the first one. But Guacamelee 2 came out this year from Drinkbox Studios. It's one of my favorite platforming games ever because not only does it look great, not only does it play great, not only by the end of it do you want to kill someone because it's so flipping hard, but everything from, again, the music, the personality of it. I hate saying that about games, but it does have personality. Like, all the characters are really funny. The script is really funny. You like everybody in the game, including all the enemies. It's not a huge departure from the first game, but that's what I wanted. I wanted that, and again, I just wanted to dip my toe back into that world. Unsurprisingly, it has pro wrestling elements to it because you play as a luchador. That was always going to help. I love the Mexican setting. When you do get to sort of later levels and you're kind of jumping off walls and then, you know, you basically jump onto a wall, do that sticky thing, then jump off, then use some kind of flying maneuver to get to it. Just, you know, it's one of those games where it says, okay, we've taught you a lot. Now you are sort of 7-8 hours in. We want you to push it all together. When you do it, you're going to feel like $1 million. And when you don't do it, you are going to want to punch yourself in the face. But there is something to that. It's like Super Meat Boy does the same thing for me. Or, you know, if we're going right back in the day, even something like Tetris, right? When you smash Tetris on the top level, you're like, oh, brilliant. But when it gets the better of you, you're like, for Pete's sake, that's all this is. Again, it's a puzzle game in a platforming guise. It's just great. Great animation. Drinkbox Studios, they could just make Guacamelee games till the end of time and I'd be happy. It costs what, like 20 quid or something? That's a bargain to me. Genuinely, I mean, really, really, really good. I mean, it got into number 6. It probably could have got one higher, but when I kind of went through, I almost swapped it with my number 5 that we'll get to in a second. But then I thought, well, they're just numbers at the end of the day. They're arbitrary numbers. But yeah, my number 6 is Guacamelee 2. If you like platforming games, go play it. Simple as that. You can't not like it. You just can't. Even if you just like wrestling games, you'll probably like it as well. It's like a platform wrestling game, and that was always going to be all right by me.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, so I can't.
Right, so, well, one day you will, my friend, and you'll realise what a treat that it is. Okay, number 6, man, your turn.
The Gardens Between.
Have we talked about that before?
Yes.
Oh, man, my brain sucks.
This is a puzzle game. I wouldn't profess myself as a lover of puzzle games, and then when I look at the games I've enjoyed, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But I think for me, it has to have like a strong narrative strand to pull me through. Like if it's just puzzle after puzzle, I'm like,
yeah, I agree.
Yawn. Yeah, so this is a game where each level so the whole game is you play as a boy and a girl, childhood friends, going on these adventures together. And each level has a set start and finish point. And what you do is you hit L2 and R2 to wind time back and forth. So all you have to do is wind time forward to the end. But it's what you interact with within those timelines. So at 11 seconds, you might need to press something for that to move to where you need to get to the end to activate a bridge or something. I hope that's clear enough. So all you're doing is moving backwards in time. Backwards and forwards and interacting with different elements. It's a lovely, colourful little game. It's like perfect for the Switch, which I played it on. And the story's really nice, even though it's quite quiet because I'm not saying that because there's no dialogue, but it's just a sort of subtle and gentle story. And yeah, just a really lovely little game. And the puzzles are never too taxing. You're never just like, oh, where do I go? For God's sake, what do I do? Just slightly little conundrums, and then just pulls you through ever so gently. It's just a really, really lovely, charming buzzword game.
I almost used it earlier, but I stopped myself. But sometimes it just works, though, doesn't it? Like it does send out a message. I looked it up. I do remember it. And again, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? It takes puzzlers, but it makes it unique. And as you just said, that's something that you need, and it delivers it in spades.
Yeah, it's got loads of personality, another buzzword. So,
But no, it does. Honestly, I think a lot of my games that come up do have that, which is why they get into my list. I like games to leave an impression. They may not be the best games that I play, but if they leave an impression, they sort of stay in the memory longer, and therefore it works. My number 5, I think, is going to be in yours, Sam. So we'll just have a big chat about it. But my number 5 is Spider-Man.
It's not in mine.
It's not. I'm surprised, Sam. You were so excited about it.
Yeah, it's very good, but it's one of the. I think we've discussed this before, but I think it's just one of those games that I enjoyed in the moment. But I don't think I thought too much about it since. If you know what I mean?
You're
I
right.
had it, and then I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, you're right, and I was like that as well. But again, when I sat down and I kind of made a list of everything that I played, the reason it gets in is again for what it means for games. And I know that makes me sound like a wanker, but I am a wanker, so it's fine. But Rocksteady started this trend with Arkham Asylum back in 2007 or 8, whenever the hell it was. And then they carried it on with Arkham Knight in 2011, Arkham City, and so on and so forth. But nobody else had really replicated that. So superhero games in general, unlike their film counterparts, I didn't really feel had, created Batman had. It created a bar, but nobody else had done that. And even though, Insomniac have taken huge inspiration from the Batman games, it doesn't matter, because as we talked about here before, now they've done that, you can't release shitty superhero games anymore. It's not acceptable. And Spider-Man is not the best game in the world. If someone said review it right now, I'd give it 8 out of 10. But sometimes a good 8 out of 10 is better than all games. I know that makes no sense statistically, but a fun 8 out of 10 that you enjoy for 10 hours is often the best thing you do in video games over a 12-month period. And I also liked it because I don't know anything about Spider-Man, and yet I never felt alienated from it. Like, I had to do a lot of Googling here and there when enemies turned up or villains that I had no idea who they are. But the swinger mechanic is as fun as it was back in 2004 whenever Spider-Man 2 came out. Again, not revolutionary, not too anything different, but again, made that work. And I know a lot of Spider-Man games haven't. And yeah, I'm taking my damn ass time to get through it, but that's not the point. I always look forward to playing it. Yeah, the combat mechanic could be better for me, and I think some of the sort of objectives and missions you have to do before the end feel very much like a PS2 game, for example, where it was more about let's just hurl more stuff at you, as opposed to thinking about what we've actually created and what would work. But it doesn't make a difference. It is a lot of fun. It is very entertaining. I imagine people that love Spider-Man absolutely love this game. The DLC's been really well thought out. So yeah, number 5, Spider-Man. Look forward to Spider-Man 2, and look forward to the Square Enix Avengers game and anything else that people have got, in the cards, because you have to. If it's not going to be good, you may as well cancel it, because the industry will now tell you off for that, as opposed to going, well, it's just a superhero game. And I think that's important, and I love superhero stuff, so we will see.
Yeah, it's just so fun. Like, not every game has to be an epic tale, and like it's just fun, and like just kicking ass for 20 hours or something, or more if you're doing 100%. But yeah, I mean, just because I've not thought about it since, I probably wouldn't put it among our top 10. It's just so much fun for like the time it was with, and yeah, it just doesn't have to be like a long-winded epic yarn. I think a lot of games feel they should be these days. It's just like, yeah, you're just beating thugs, doing Spider-Man stuff. That's it. It's great.
Exactly, and that's what it needs to be. Sometimes you just need to be what you need to be, as ridiculous as that sounds. So yeah, number 5, Spider-Man for me.
Number 5 for me is The Missing, or the longer name, The Missing J.J. Macfield and the Island of Memories.
I remember this one.
I think I've got that right, because I haven't written that down. So this is by Swery, the Japanese developer, known for his weird stuff like Deadly Premonition. And yeah, this game is a platformer. I think we talked about this as well.
I remember this one. This one I remember.
Yes. So you play as a girl who is looking for a friend. Weird, disturbing stuff starts going on, like a spirit attacking you, and then your friend is just disappeared. So obviously it's a bit sinister from the beginning, but then you find out you can't die on this island. So it balances the very disturbing, because every time you get hit, you can lose limbs, you can be a rolling head around the floor, stuff like that. Very bloody, very violent, very graphic. But also that all sounds silly, right? And it does blend that silliness, that over-the-top weirdness, with this sort of horrific, just sort of dismemberment. And you had to solve puzzles like, one of them, you had to weigh a seesaw down with all your limbs while you roll away as a head.
That's genius.
Yeah, and it's just... there's obviously not a game like this, because I don't think anyone would be like, yeah, well, dismember yourself, and you have to use all your body parts to weigh a seesaw down. I don't think anyone would do that. But it's not afraid to do that, and it's just unflinching. It's just so off the wall crazy, and I love it. It's just so I'd probably go through it again and be like, oh, that happens, because there's also weird story elements. Like there's a doctor with a moose head that shows up every now and then, and the ending is very dark and sinister as well, as you can imagine. And yeah, it's just one of the. I always like a bit of twisted stuff in games. I feel like games can sometimes shy away from that because it feels like it can't. But there's games that get unrated and stuff like that. I think games can be a bit, films can be a bit more unflinching, but games sometimes are a bit afraid to. And I like it when games are just like, we're doing this and it's gruesome and it's grotesque and it's ugh. And yeah, so this game is the definition of that.
Yeah, what's wrong with that though, man? Like, it made an impression, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly. I obviously come with a disclaimer. It's very bloody and very disturbing, but yeah.
No, that's a good one. That, like I remember when we talked about it, I was fascinated. That is probably something eventually one day I would play. I think you sold it to me well as well. What are we on to now? Number 4, right? Yeah. So my number 4 is Red Dead Redemption 2. Which will probably raise a lot of people's eyebrows, given some of the stuff I've said on it here. But again, I'm doing that thing, and I said it when we were talking about it. The single player isn't necessarily what I want. Too much survival techniques, too much downtime, it's too slow paced. I love the online. I love Red Dead Online, so that drags it back up instantly. But I also, even though I personally don't like what it does in the single player, I think that it is a masterpiece, which sounds weird, but it just is, from a technical point of view, from a storytelling point of view, from an actor point of view, from a characterization point of view. I could literally keep going all the time. And there's so many different elements you can take away from it. And I know the comeback to that is, oh, well, Rockstar have all the money and Rockstar did this and Rockstar did that. Okay, but they still have to produce it, and they have produced it. And because of that, every time I sit down to play it, because I am playing on the Xbox One X as well, which obviously helps, I look at it, I'm like, how the flip did you do this on the Xbox One? Oh, and I'm sure it looks just because the PS4 and the PS4 Pro. Like, it is an absolute, as most Rockstar games are that come out towards the end of a console's life cycle, it's an absolutely incredible feat that it got managed to be done. And look, as I'm gonna persevere with it, because I've been told by everybody that you just have to keep going. And I've said before, I remember, I can't remember what it was now. A game came out for Namco Bandai years and years ago. I don't remember what it was. Probably before they were even Namco Bandai. It's probably just a Namco game. And everyone said, oh, it's great if you get past the first 7 hours. And I was really put out by that. I was like, well, that's ridiculous. But I guess I'm a hypocrite now, because I've been told so many good things about the end game of Red Dead 2. It's my Christmas game, really. I am going to sit down and get through it. Again, Red Dead Online to me is wonderful. I'm such a fan of it. I know there's some problem with trolling, but if they can sort that out, it will be good. But yeah, I think it's great. I absolutely love it, and that's why it gets in here. Just an amazing achievement all round.
Yeah, it just, when you look at videos of it, it's just like, how have they done this? I thought the same about Uncharted 4 when I played it.
Yeah,
it's one of those ones like, and even if they have a lot of money, they could have still done that badly. There are certain games that have come out this year that have not done very well despite all their money. So I don't think that really is an excuse. You don't just throw money at things and they become good. It is meticulously crafted and takes tons of talent. So Red Dead is just total marvelous achievement.
Yeah, and that's what it is. That's why it's there. And I know loads of people absolutely love that game as well. So yeah, I felt like I had to feature, and that's why it has. Just another Rockstar success, and I imagine from this point on, that's all we're going to get. Because, once you set that kind of a bar, it's hard to then take a step backwards. And they don't fail that often. They really don't. Even games like their driving game, which I always forget, LA Midnight Club, whatever the flip it was called, even that is not awful. It has a bad rap these days, but it was not a bad game. So, yeah, Red Dead Redemption, number 4. 2.
Number 4. Mine's Bendy and the Ink Machine, which we've covered very recently.
Yes. Wow, yeah. What an impression that made, Sam. That comes flying in.
Yeah, that is just fantastic. It's just like, as soon as I got Bioshock vibes from it, like literally, if people were not that anyone would be trying to solely impress little old me, but if someone was trying to make a game for me, it'd be like, this has got Bioshock vibes. I'm instantly like, yes, let's go. And like with the audio diaries and just the fact that it's just generally creepy, the environmental storytelling, just, that sort of thing. Like the Rapture was so great because nobody was ever normal in it. You never met NPCs that were friendly. The only story you got was from the radio in your ear and the audio diaries you picked up in the world. That was the only way you got context, and everything else was trying to kill you. And it's the same sort of thing here. It's a bit more, when I think back on it, I'm just like, okay, it should be rated 18. But I was very surprised to find out it's rated 12 because it's not actually violent in any way. Everything's ink, so if you get hit, it's black ink, and the monsters are made out of black ink. There's no blood at all. It's all a very cartoon style because it takes place in this cartoon studio. So it's sort of like, I see people just like, yeah, my son's playing it. And I'm just like, they've made a horror game that is like fine for like, not everyone, but like, teenagers upwards. They haven't used blood, and that a lot of people, if you were to say like horror games, a lot of people would be like, yeah, you need blood. But this just nails it without the need for excessive gore, without the need for just cliches either. Like, it looks like a cartoon, bright, bubbly game, but then it hits you and just like, yeah, it's just so good. And when you go into a game and the art style really grabs you from straight away, it's just a joy to be in that world. I think that's a lot of the part of the appeal as well.
I think that's a good point as well. Just enjoying being in the environment that's been created for you. That's kind of like the Hitman for me as well. I just like being in it. I think they've done it really, really well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good show. What's it called again for people that may have missed it and want to get it? Because I can never remember the whole name.
Bendy and the Ink Machine.
When you look it up, it'll get you straight away. I remember when I watched that trailer, I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So it's a good shout. So my number 3 is, I'm still torn on which way around to put these two games, but I am going to go Shadow of the Colossus remake.
Nice.
Loads of people hate that. Oh, you can't have a remake in your top 10 lists of all time. Okay, well, I can. It's my list.
And we got 2 games that didn't come out this year. So.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But it did come out this year. And look, what a terrific technical thing that was. I mean, they dragged that into 2018 to the point you wouldn't even know that it came out in 2005 or 2006. So, that's, I think, is cause for celebration. If nothing else, but also it reminded me that not only is it here, and again, if I was going to, it's bizarre because it's probably my second favorite game of all time. So you're like, well, why is it third in 2018? That's just the way the world works, right? It doesn't make any sense. I know it's broken, but that's just life. But it reminded me of how much I love this game, how different this game is, how no matter what else Team Ico do, they're never actually going to replicate this. This is their peak. This is their game they're going to be remembered for however many years. And obviously, The Last Guardian had problems, but even then, when The Last Guardian came out, it didn't have the same effect or the same feel that this did. It was lightning in a bottle. Again, it's just unlike anything else. And I sound like such an arty-farty arsehole, but it's true that the amount of noise it manages to create when it's utterly silent is nuts. You feel alone in a world where you're sitting on a couch, playing as some dude that you know nothing about. And the twist at the end is great. It makes you feel, it makes you believe in the relationship, between the boy and his horse. Every single Colossus is an incredible puzzle in itself. I genuinely think it's flawless. I know the controls are problematic, and yes, they are, but to me, that almost enhances the game, because when you are trying to take down these huge beasts, and you also know that it's not as easy as just, clicking a few buttons, that to me, I don't know, adds something to the experience. I absolutely loved it back then. I've still got the original one with all the postcards in it. I'll never get rid of it. It means something to me, and I don't know why. And I love this remake, and I would implore everyone again, if you've never played Shadow of the Colossus and you have a PlayStation 4, I can't imagine anyone not getting something from it, so you should just go and play it, and I think it'll win you over.
That is still on my list. I've still got to play that, but there's so much stuff on the list.
Oh, but that's just life, isn't it? When you actually go through, I thought not a lot came out this year, and you go through a release list, you're like, nope. Loads of stuff came out. But yeah, I mean, genuinely one of my favourite games of all time. Absolutely backed up by this remaster, which means I haven't got to dig out my PlayStation 2 to play it. Shadow of the Colossus remake, 10 out of 10 game. No question about it.
Sweet. Well, I'll give that a go then.
You're damn right. You'll love it, I promise. All right, number 3, you.
Number 3. I've lost the list. Here it is. So mine is my indie game of the year, which is Forgotten Anne.
I remember this one as well.
Yeah, I've talked about this before because I talk about it with everyone. Forgotten Anne is just incredible. It's made by Throughline Games, and it's a Ghibli-inspired, which is always a good tick in the favour, Ghibli-inspired platformer where you go into a world of forgotlings, which is like when an inanimate object it has its time on Earth, it goes into this world of forgotlings and it becomes a person. So, well, not a person. It is still an inanimate object, but it takes on a life of its own. And you play as Anne, who is the helper to the leader of this world. And the game just asks moral questions as you try to quell the uprising for the Forgotlings, and then you have to question your role in this society, what you're doing with the leader. But it's also sort of ambiguous enough that it's sort of a moral lesson that for all people, rather than like adults and children. And again, if we're sounding artsy and fartsy, it is like playing your way through a Ghibli animation, because there's very little UI, and it all flows very smoothly. And yeah, it's so fantastically well made, and yeah, just stood out from the offset. Just the tones, the voice acting, the sound, the visuals, it's just all incredible. Definitely, that is my number one indie recommendation from the year.
It does look good as well. Like, I think most people like Ghibli films, and when you go and actually watch it in action, it is very special. You're like, whoa, that is really, really well done, especially because it's not made by like a big studio or anything. I don't know how much money that went into it, but it looks like loads went in.
Yeah, it's just so good. So good. And it's on Switch now, so there's no reason not to play it.
There you go. Another reason not to play it. So, number 3, 2 to go, or 4 to go, technically. My number 2, if you do listen to The Week in Gaming a lot, you won't be surprised to hear that it's Mario Tennis on the Nintendo Switch. Now, look, is it any different from any other Mario Tennis game ever? No. Does Simon Miller love those games more than anything? Yes. So, the only thing it's missing is when Camelot used to make it, and, what do you call it? The RPGs on the Game Boy Advance and stuff. The only thing is missing is an RPG mechanic. It has them a little bit, but not as much. It's far more stripped back and far more accessible. But I love tennis games. I've loved tennis games since Super Tennis on the Super Nintendo. I love playing as Mayor, or whatever the hell that guy's name was. It was absolutely awesome. And I don't know what it is. We don't get many tennis games anymore. Obviously, I used to like Virtua Tennis 2. Topspin was all right, but I always was more of a Virtua Tennis guy. They've kind of drowned out because of sales. Obviously, Mario sales on Mario, on Mario's likeness and whatnot. It does all of that and more. Once again, not even just saying on the same couch multiplayer, online multiplayer, and this is really good too. The story mode is nonsense, but it is fun. And again, like you said, it's on the Switch. And so many times when I've gone to bed and maybe I haven't been able to sleep or I just need some downtime, I whip out my Switch, I play Mario Tennis for 5-10 minutes, just have a quick game against a Koopa Trooper or something like that, and it makes me happy. It puts a smile on my face. Sometimes gameplay and mechanics are all I need, and as a man that has always liked tennis games, it's as close to that as I've got in a very, very long time. And as much as I will insult them as a joke, I love Nintendo. I'm massively biased, massively. They are. If someone said only pick one, I would kick Microsoft and Sony away without even thinking about it. And that's why Mario Tennis gets in. Probably my happiest game of the year, and as stupid as that may be, I don't even care. Games are about entertainment, and it's entertained me for like 6 months, so it wasn't even a question. Number 2, Mario Tennis. No shame.
I wasn't even intrigued about this game until I heard you talk about it so much, and now I'm just like, it's got to be something more to it, because I'm just like, okay, cool, it's a tennis game, but now I'm just like, okay, it's got to be a pretty good tennis game.
It really is. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm sure loads of people about Millie are insane. Yeah, probably. But I still love it, and that's not going to change. Absolutely confident that in my decision. I won't regret it at all. Brilliant. Just brilliant.
Well, my number 2, you're going to love.
Oh, I'm excited now.
It's Fallout 76.
You're right, I do love it. Mostly because I love how much you're just in there. You're in it, and it ain't going to change.
Literally, I've spoken before about why it's... we've spoken to the last few weeks pretty much non-stop about the issues, the ups and the downs, and why I love it and the things that are going on with it. But I think it's just a testament that ever since it came out, I've been multiple hours on it every day, got people buying it because they hear how much I talk about it, not like in the general public, actual friends. And then just we got a whole group of people that go on all the time. We all love it. We all love the social aspects. And yeah, I hear people saying like, "Oh, you can't excuse it just because it's fun with friends." Like, yeah, I can. You could have a block of wood, and with 6 people gathered around, it's not fun. You still need to have a fun video game, and it's incredibly fun. Obviously, it has technical elements, and obviously, it has so much issues. But the fact that it's kept me entertained for hours, and there's no sign of stopping. That map is huge. There's so much to see. There's so much to do for the story. There's so much to craft. There's so much loot to get. And yeah, I think it's got a very bright future ahead of it. And it'll be interesting to see what 2019 holds for that game.
I like how much you like it, because I actually think you're going to be proved not right, because if someone doesn't like it, fair enough. But I think your faith in it is going to be rewarded. Don't know why. That's just my gut feeling about it.
Yeah, it's a great game to put at number 2, because people are just like, what? People have told people.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you joking?
How's it been since the updates we talked about last week? Have you noticed any other fallout from them, or is it just fallout? I didn't mean like that. But have you noticed any other changes or anything, or has it just kind of found its feet?
No, I think it's there's another change for PC today, and in 2 days there's another one. I haven't noticed huge trouble, like improvements with the stability and stuff, but I think that's a bit of a longer project. There's a few more things like improving camp systems and stuff like that. So as long as they keep making steps in the right direction, I'm very willing to be patient.
There you go. Fallout 76. Find me someone else that's put that in their top 10 list, and, well, I'll put them in touch with Sam so they can talk about it and enjoy it. My number one shouldn't come as any surprise again to anybody that follows this podcast or has watched me playing it or anything like that. It's God of War, which is kind of controversial to me because I still think it'd be a better game without that kid. But that kind of sums up how much I enjoy it. It's Kratos. Kratos, we don't get many characters in video games in terms of new franchises that come along and kind of steal the show. In fact, I'm trying to think of somebody now, sort of over the last 4 or 5 years, it's been in a new franchise that we now still talk about. I'm sure there are people, and I'm not thinking about it. I don't play Life is Strange, but I know a lot of those characters relate to some people. But for me, it was sort of the stupid, over-the-top, big, muscular idiots. Marcus Phoenix, Kratos, all those kind of guys. And, while it took me a while, and I still have problems with it, again, to warm to the idea of Kratos being a loving father. Yeah. I do think Sony got that incredible. They really did get it. They get it right. When you get towards the end of the game and you kind of find out more what the story is trying to tell you, it does make a lot more sense. It's an evolution, and it still took, Kratos and his whole journey and made it work in a 2018 setting, in a brand new video game, again, with no numbers on the end, that they wanted to appeal to more people. They absolutely did. It sold loads. Most people that played it got an emotional experience out of it, which was the point. The combat is definitely the best combat system of this year. It is so much fun to play. Again, the semi-open world I could probably do without. I kind of miss single-player corridor experiences, but it doesn't take anything away from the game. That's me picking at straws. But I love it. I genuinely love it. It's just Kratos. Sometimes it's like when you go watch, a Tom Hanks movie, and, while Tom Hanks may be better than everything else, you still get a kick out of it. That's kind of how I approach God of War. And look, it comes down to simple maths. Did I enjoy playing that game more than anything else in 2018? The answer is yes, and that is why God of War is my favourite game of this year. Simple as that. Easy.
Yeah, I've been dipping into that for the first time, and it's just the combat is so weighty, but not heavy in a bad sense. It's just like whenever you land, it's that crunch in the skull.
That's so true.
Just ripping horns off. It's just great. It's just great.
It is great. It is, and that is why I love it. Like, my big problem with some shooters that come out these days is that it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything. Like, you shoot a gun, like, oh, is that it? But with Kratos, whatever you're using, it feels like you're tearing somebody's head off. And that's what it should be. That's absolutely what it should be. So, yeah, such a good game. Makes me happy. Yeah, I've said what I need to say. Love it. Absolutely love it.
And my number one is Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom.
I thought it would be. When I mentioned it earlier, we were talking like, I shouldn't have said that because I'm 99% sure that would be Sam's game. I didn't want to name drop it too early. But I thought that would be the case. But I will let you wax lyrical about it.
Yeah, so, another Ghibli-inspired one, because Ghibli didn't actually work on this one. They worked on the first one, but the style still carries over. I've played the first one since playing it. I think the biggest improvement is the combat. I think the combat in the first one is really clunky and sort of tries to combine real-time and turn-based. I really don't think it works. A lot of people say that the first one is just better generally, but I think for the combat in particular, it got rid of the familiars, which a lot of people were unhappy with, but it's real-time and it works a lot smoother. I think it's more intense battles because you don't have to stop and go through a menu each time. It's just simple. You just get your abilities and activate them. It's really great. Obviously, it's good-looking. The whole game is beautiful, and I think that's one of the reasons why Ni no Kuni stands out in the JRPG space. So I don't think that's any surprise to anyone. I always say this because it's got a fairy tale tone is one of the reasons why I love it so much, because really all you're doing is being the hero that saves the kingdom, but it's so much more than that, because it's like Evan's childlike hope and then Roland's sort of adult I don't say pessimism, realism, sort of a bit more skeptical. They play off each other really well. There's just such a great cast of characters, and that world is just so unique. It just builds upon, because one of the cities is based on sort of Asian culture, like Hong Kong, Thailand sort of thing. So it combines the real world with the fantasy world amazingly well. I can go on for ages, basically. It's got RTS battles in it for some reason, which just work. It's got city building mechanics, which are just amazing. It's just got so much content in it as well. Just the voice acting is fantastic. And it's not, I think some JRPGs you can bounce off a little bit, but because this is so widespread in its appeal, it's just you are the hero saving the kingdom, right? It's just appealing to everyone, and I just love that game so much. So number one.
Well, you can tell. I'd say what's really nice about doing lists like this, you always hear enthusiasm in people's voices.
Yeah.
And sometimes in video games, we can all get a bit negative, a bit cynical.
Bit jaded, yeah.
Bit jaded.
Boxes and stuff like that.
Exactly. And, 2018's not been perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's always good to remember why we played this stuff to begin with. And I think anybody listening to that can tell how much you enjoy it. And I think that's just a nice thing. All around. That's it. Amazingly, Sam and I deliberately didn't discuss which games we had because we thought it would be more fun. So we thought we'd have one crossover. So now I can call this 20 games of the year, which is actually quite incredible. I didn't think thought it would be some weird number like 12. But yeah, there you go. The 20 best games of the year. That's that, I think.
No question.
No question. You're not allowed to debate it now. You can. Again, if you want to tweet either Sam or I, Simon316, Sam Bishop, 3 Ps and a 1 at the end, please do let us know your 10 best games of the year. If we get enough interest, we can kind of sort of tally up some votes and see where we get in the new year. We will be back in 2019 to talk through. We were going to do it this episode, but that's stupid. We should do it in January to talk through the games that are coming out in 2019 and see what games we should be excited about. I had a quick look earlier.
I'm excited about some.
Well, it's already a packed release schedule already. Like, I think the next year may be even more crazier than this year, especially sort of the first quarter. So that's going to be really interesting.
I have to write some down now.
There you go. But nothing else. Look, to everyone that does listen to The Week in Gaming, thank you so much. I know it was a bit all over the place towards the start of the year until we found our groove. Completely my fault, as it always is. But the most important thing is now we are cranking out one a week, and we will do that for the foreseeable future. And to you, Sam, thank you so much for giving up your time once a week to come and co-host it. I really appreciate it.
Here's to a fantastic 2019.
Exactly. So, right, use the Christmas time well. Enjoy your favourite games. Catch up on games that maybe you haven't played. Again, this is also be on YouTube at youtube.com/The Miller Report Rules. Also, loads of other content over there. So please do go subscribe and check all that stuff out. Twitter and Instagram for me is at Simon316. For Sam is Sam Bishop, 3 Ps and a 1. And all of it is supported by patreon.com/SimonMiller316. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without all the support, so thank you very much. But look, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you again to you, Sam, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for being there with me throughout the way.
Yeah, that's all good. And again, we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time, or you'll hear us in a couple of weeks' time. Enjoy it. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Speak to you again soon.